Alright guys, what's going on? So today's video is going to be a little bit different. We're actually going to I'm going to try something. I have no idea if it's actually going to work. I've seen it. I think I can do it, so I'm going to try it. So I want that to be very clear at the beginning of this video. If this looks horrible or fails miserably, I'm trying something that I think I can do. We're going to be trying to do a wheel tub on my Red Galaxy, an outer wheel tub. So I'm kind of trying to flare the outer wheelhouse out. Therefore, I can get a much larger wheel and tire combo and get the car much lower without having to worry about it rubbing. So this is something I should have done on the white car when I had it, apart. It was just a time thing. I didn't have time to do all this, and I didn't want to experiment with that car. But mine, I cut my car up for fun, so I don't really care at this point. So I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna head down to IMS, which is a sheet metal supply place in San Diego, California, and go in their scratch and dent pile where they got a lot of, miscellaneous sheets that are cut, and they're way cheaper than normal. So we'll pick up a sheet of 18 gauge. We're gonna start making this out. So if you're confused on what I'm talking about, so this outer wheelhouse specifically, you can see from the wheel well up just kind of tapers inward. And so what we're actually going to be doing is I'm going to radius cut this pretty much up and around and back down, and then flare it out probably 2 inches or so, and make sure I can get it as wide as I can, because you can see where the door is at. There's plenty of room to come out. So I want to be able to get this car much lower, because as you can see, just from where the wheel is, if I do drop the car a certain amount, it's definitely going to hit. And that's a very big problem with these cars I see a lot of guys run into, is they'll have a very poor wheel gap. The wheel will be sitting like 3 inches from the wheel lip because of the way the car sits in the outer wheelhouse. It has to be pushed inward for it not to rub. So because I'm here now, I'm going to eliminate this problem entirely by radius cutting and flaring that outer wheelhouse. Like I said, this is an experiment. Hopefully it works. If not, I'm gonna have to spend like $600 on wheelhouses and fix it. But nevertheless, it doesn't hurt to try. So I'm gonna head down to the metal supply place, pick up the metal, and we're gonna start cutting. Nice. All right, so we just picked up a 4x4 sheet of 18 gauge IMS. This place is pretty sweet. Unfortunately, they had 16 gauge and 24 gauge and 21 gauge in their scratch and dent, like kind of pre-cut section, which is way cheaper, but oh well, 30 bucks for this sheet, so I can't complain. So in case you guys are wondering, a 4x4 sheet fits. It doesn't really fit very well, and the IMS guy kind of laughed at me a little bit, but he did help put it in, but I had to bend it and bow it a little bit, which kind of sucks. So if you have a little egg like me, you're probably gonna want to get a 4x3, which is what I normally get, but they only had 4x4s, and I'm too cheap to pay for the cut, so I was like, screw it, I'll bend it and get it to fit. So I'm gonna have a hell of a time getting this out. It's gonna be interesting to get out. It's only a little bit. It's fine. Alright, so I got just a generic piece of cardboard that I'm going to use as my template. And I'm just basically going to radius this around and kind of get the rough shape of the wheel well to where it matches of where I want to actually cut this thing. And then I'll kind of mark out on the panel where I actually want to cut this and make sure that that matches this piece. So if I just kind of roughly hold this up, get it level on the bottom, I know that I got a lot of stuff I can cut off. So I'm gonna pull this down a pretty good amount, because I'd rather be able to trim the bottom off and not worry about it. All right, so what I've got going on here is I put some tape lines along the panel to kind of like remind myself of what the panel looks like and the contours on it. So I went on the 3 main parts of the lowest parts of the door, the middle section, which is where the center of the body line is, because there's 2 main body lines, one right there and then one right there. So I went on the just underneath on both of them, and then in the center. And so what that does is it gives me an idea, if I come straight back, what the heights of these 3 places are. And if you look down it from the back, you can see it actually, this camera kind of distorts the image a little bit, but in person, the center one is the furthest out, which is, naturally what it's gonna do, because the door kind of bows. So then if I'm coming up here, I can look at this and realize, you can see now the different depths that I get to work with here. And then the far bottom one that I noticed pretty much instantly touches. So that one, that's to be expected also, because that's where these panels come together, is right at this point. So I know I can't really flare out anything below this tape line, if anything above it really that much at all. Really this tape line, probably the center of this line, is where I can start making a break and pull this thing up. So I think what I'll end up doing is scribing a line right above the tape line to be safe on that line, pull that up, and then I'll just go straight up from this all the way up and over, and I'll measure my depths from each tape line and kind of figure out how much I can flare this, because the panel does bow. So if you look at the Auto Metal Direct panel, it does kind of arc a little bit. You know, as it comes across, it does arc a little bit. Not much, but enough. Whereas these tape lines are straight, so therefore, you know, just looking at them from here, if I'm measuring off at this point, I should be able to get, you know, roughly 1/8 to 1/4 inch of, you know, outward from where this tape line sits, because the tape line is technically flat. So factoring all that in, I should be able to kind of just take some measurements and figure out where this piece goes. But I'm gonna keep on tracing out that cardboard cutout, get it to slip in there and fit the way I want it, and then we'll go from there. All right guys, so let me kind of show you guys what I was talking about if you couldn't see it before. So this is a piece of 1/8 inch steel rod. If I place this up against the quarter panel, you know, and I put the camera where the material would be, you can see it's obviously way in the way of the tire. If I come down here, if I drop the car another, oh, I don't know, say I was gonna drop that thing 2 more inches, yeah, it would definitely rub. So now what I'm gonna do is take this steel rod, and I'm actually probably gonna tack it on here to give myself an idea of where everything is. But I'm gonna clean up this edge because I effed it up pretty bad. I cut off a little bit more than I probably should have, honestly. But I'm gonna go ahead and trim up that edge and give me something a little bit nicer to work with. And then I'm gonna go ahead and start making spots and tabs for the new panel. All right, so you can see I got my rough outer line, you know, shape done. So I think you might be able to see what I got going on, or what I'm going for at least. So that gives me all the tire clearance now. So if I steer through this side, you can see I got way more room now, way more room. So I can see just how much room I got. That definitely added a lot, so. So I'm gonna go ahead and make my little skeleton and then come back when it's done. Aha, so it fits. I was worried about that, but you guys can see right there, it clears perfectly. I could have actually gone way wider. I was thinking I could, but I mean, I really don't need to. But yeah, this gives me a perfect look in here. You can see I got inches to spare, which is good. There you go, there's another good shot right there. You guys can see all the way in there. Plenty of room all the way down. So that's really cool actually. I was worried it wasn't gonna fit and I wasn't gonna have enough room, or it was gonna be like 1/8 of an inch and like rattle or touch, but no, this, I think I'm actually gonna pull it and bow it a little bit further. That's sick, I'm stoked, everything fits perfectly. So, pays to measure, I guess. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull the quarter back off and start getting everything tacked up and start making all the plates that will attach to all the pieces in there. Alright guys, I won't be the first to admit that that took way longer than I wanted, but it looks really good. I'm happy with the outcome, considering, like I said earlier, I haven't tried this before. I mean, it came out good. It's all one piece now, it's all tacked together. It's actually super strong. You know, if you press on it from any angle, it actually just ends up moving the whole car, which is really good. It's got multiple directions of support, and it's all tacked together, which is pretty good. So I'm gonna go ahead and basically, I don't need to fully weld the whole thing. So what I'll do is I'll just connect all these stitches, every other one, all the way around it. And then what I'll do is I'll seam seal it from the inside, so any moisture or, you know, wet weather or anything doesn't actually end up corroding this, and then I'll seal and paint the whole thing on the outside. So I'm gonna go ahead and fully weld this one and then come back when it's done. Alright guys, there you have it. It is fully welded, at least welded enough for I'm good with it. So like I said, we're going to seam seal the inside. I'll probably seam seal some of the outside as well. It doesn't hurt. There's no reason not to. I'm going to coat this whole thing in probably like POR or some sort of encapsulator. I saw you guys, a couple of you guys commenting about the encapsulator. I am going to do that. I just haven't gotten to that step yet. But I think we'll DA everything and go ahead and throw a coat on it. But I'd say it looks pretty good. So this, the only downside about this entire process is it takes forever. It took me about a full day start to finish to kind of do one side. You could probably do it in one day if you're really efficient. But the one thing is, if I was able to make this in one piece and that top part in one piece, this would take half the time. But this is super strong. I mean, you can beat on this thing as much as you want. It doesn't bow, bend, or anything. It's way stronger than what was in the car, and I'd say it looks pretty good. You can see some of these tricky bends trying to get these panels in here, but everything worked out. This is just raw right after welding. I'm gonna do a little bit of light sanding and then go ahead and coat it all, but that'll allow me to fit a massive wheel in there. You can see now, like the wheel I have on right now, I could actually put the body of the car on the ground and that wheel still would not hit. So that's the entire purpose of this, is I can put whatever wheel I want on the car, put the car as low as I want, and not have to run into any issues. So all in all, totally worth the work, I will admit. That's nothing more than some 1/8 inch rod that I got at Ace Hardware, just kind of to lay in and make an actual skeleton, do a structure for the whole thing. And then it's just some 18 gauge I got at a regular metal supply place. All in all, it's a little over $30 in materials, so that is not at all a bad price for this, considering with these cheap 24 gauge wheel tubs you see on Summit Racing go for $150+, which in my opinion are not worth the money, which is why I did this. This is way stronger, it'll last me a way longer time, and it does stiffen up the body, that's for sure. Because we did go on to notice that this is actually way stronger. The old one was very flimsy compared to this. I mean, it was still strong, but this thing doesn't move at all. So if you guys went on to enjoy today's video, I'm gonna go ahead and before I pick up the camera next time, I'm gonna finish the other side. This stuff does take a while, like I said, so I'm gonna kind of use the rest of the day tomorrow to finish that up. We'll work on the next video of getting the quarter panels mocked up. So I'll see you guys then. Thank you guys a ton for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.